on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:37 on O'Connor and Company on a incredibly busy Monday morning here, trying to get a handle on the. Pardon me.
What?
Pardon me.
I didn't say anything.
No, I'm asking the president to pardon me.
Oh.
I didn't do anything nearly as bad as his son did, and I would like a pardon as well. We should all get a pardon. I mean, God knows. I'm just letting you know. I mean, we're all guilty of something out there. We know that the U.S. attorneys can indict a ham sandwich, and we're supposed to think that's clever and funny. So I think
you're a Catholic pro-lifer. You better watch out.
I think the only fair thing is that every single American should have a blanket pardon like Hunter Biden has now. That's fair. We all get a one-off.
That's it.
Or in Hunter's case, 175 off.
Right.
All right, we'll get to that story with John Solomon from Just the News, but I'm not going to drag Trevor Matich into any sort of controversial political discussion. As much as I would love to talk to one of the foremost college football experts about the stunning, historic victory that Michigan enjoyed over Ohio State and this fake controversy over planting the flag, he is here to talk about the Washington Commanders. But first, feel free here, Joe, Trevor, if you could. This whole thing about planting the flag. I mean, when you've got a college, you went to BYU. You have some cutthroat rivalry there with Utah, right?
Go ahead, Larry.
When you win a rivalry like that on the home field, I mean, it's just a thing. If you want to protect your house from your rival planting the flag at the center of the field, you beat them in the 60 minutes you've got. Otherwise, you go back to the locker room and you get better.
Well, that's the theory for Michigan. See, what happened here was Michigan was having a terrible season this year because their offense was awful. Mm-hmm. They were 6-5 coming into this game, whereas Ohio State was on track to play for the Big Ten championship.
They spent $20 million to put that team together to beat Michigan this year.
This was the year. And to beat Michigan this year, Larry, what you said, because Ohio State had lost 3 in a row to their bitter-hated rival, the Michigan Wolverines. And they had to beat them this year at home in Columbus, Ohio.
This was the year.
Well, this was the year. And Michigan went into the Buckeyes' house and beat them for a 4th straight year.
Spanked them.
Knocked them. Yes, spanked them hard. They knocked them out of the Big Ten championship game. And Ohio State just melted down. Yeah. I mean, they made big mistakes. Michigan made the plays they needed to play. So after the game, Michigan, victorious, after an awful, miserable season, tried to plant their flag. Of course, it's artificial turf, but symbolically, they had a flag and they sort of stuck it on the ground on the big O in the middle of the field. And the Buckeyes didn't like that, and they came out, and a fight ensued to the degree that the officials pepper sprayed the players.
Wow.
Yeah, and some of the reporters out there got pepper sprayed as well.
No. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think that we have another discussion about whether or not that's bad, but they pepper sprayed. And then one of the Michigan players came out, Khalil Mullins, running back, and said of the Buckeyes, some people just need to learn how to lose.
Yeah, that's great.
Because the Buckeyes came out and fought them when they did that. That was a great line. But, Larry, I'm going to make you mad at me because some people need to learn to be respectful when they win and not plant the flag on the other team's logo. And so it goes both ways, but it was an ugly scene. But for the Buckeyes, they now, having lost 4 in a row to Michigan, if they don't win the national championship this year, then the next 365 days will be the ugliest maybe they have ever been in the history of Buckeye Nation. And for Michigan, the suffering of their rival is the most delicious feeling
Larry is so happy.
ever. And you've got a year to revel in that.
It's so great. All right. Anyway, how about them Commanders? That was
oh, no.
Well, no, I mean, listen, I was at the game. I mean, that first quarter was just absolute domination. They go up 21-0. It's kind of fun when you know it's pretty much baked in the cake. But what was the difference here? Because they certainly turned it around. It's nice to play against the Titans, but there was more to it than that, right? The offense looked different.
Yeah, the offense was great. They ran the ball, and part of the reason is that the Commanders' running back, Brian Robinson Jr., was healthier. Yeah. I mean, they lost 3 in a row coming into this game. I mean, they went from being right there near the top of the division to being just a half game ahead of the last wild card. In other words, they were barely clinging to the last wild card playoff spot because they had lost 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But they also, Brian Washington didn't play in one of those games, and he was banged up in the other 2 and ineffective. And this one, he ripped off a 40-yard touchdown run in the first quarter, and that kind of announced his return to relatively full health. And so the running was really the big difference.
But also Jaden Daniels looked crisper as well. It's like they were having him pass much quicker. He wasn't sitting there waiting. He seemed to release the ball quickly after the snap. And boy, did they get Terry McLaurin involved in the game very quickly.
Yeah, that's been part of the problem over the losing streak, was not getting McLaurin involved early enough. And in this game, they threw their first pass to him. Jaden Daniels on 1st and 10, first play, threw a 10-yard completion to Terry McLaurin to get him going, and they threw 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter to McLaurin. So that was huge as well, just because he's one of the best receivers in the league. And when you get your best receiver going early, it changes the defense, because now they have to put more focus on that guy. And that opens up the running game, and everything else happens well. So I thought it was very smart of Jaden Daniels and the Commanders to get McLaurin involved early. And by the way, I would say this too, Larry, you contributed mightily to this first quarter domination, going up 21-0.
Oh.
The Titans, 2 of their first 3 plays were false start penalties because they couldn't hear the quarterback. You must have been yelling your Michigan Wolverine heart out.
Well, it's funny. Every time Terry McLaurin scored a touchdown, which was twice, or caught the ball, he, of course, is an Ohio State Buckeye, and I was yelling "Go Blue" every time he did that, just to sort of get him going, because I was
You've got to remind him who's boss.
Still coasting off the high. Hey, always great to talk. Wait, do you want to? I know your husband is an Ohio State fan. If you want to jump in here, Julie.
Oh,
You need to defend the horseshoe. No.
Go Buckeyes.
There. Well done. Well done, you.
Julie, they still will make the playoff, and they can still win the national championship.
Doesn't matter.
Hope springs eternal.
Larry, stop it.
It really doesn't matter.
It
honestly
Trevor.
doesn't matter.
Thank you, Trevor.
We're going to the
and honestly, as far as like whatever happens, he is still going to gloat the entire year.
That's right. That's
like
what
no matter if they win the national championship, he's still going to be insufferable.
Trevor, thank you. And
You're
this
great,
is going to be a
Trevor.
great December. I mean, Commanders now, facing some important games to stay. They're in the playoff. They're still in the playoff hunt. If the season ended today, but boy, the NFC looks tough. From the Lions to the Eagles to the Vikings, it's going to be a tough NFC to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it will, but I like their chances. The toughest team they play, the only team with the winning record remaining on their schedule, is Philly. So I think they're going to get in.
All right. Thank you, Trevor. Great talking with you as always.
Thanks,
Happy
guys.
Thanksgiving. You did great this weekend, by the way. Honestly, I'm not kidding. Your coverage of college football there is just brilliant with ESPN. Keep up the great work.
Oh, thank you, Larry.
It's 7